Hello all! Today I went on a very interesting trip. It took me a while to save up for the plane tickets, but it was worth it. Oh, before I get into too much detail, I should introduce myself. Well, not really. I'm very paranoid when it comes to the internet, and I won't disclose my real name, so if you want to speak to me, just call me... Delmar. I don't know what it is about that word, but I've been digging it lately. Okay, let's get down to business. I recently got plane tickets to Florida, and I booked a stay at a small hotel near a very special location. It was worth the 6-hour plane ride for where I was going. If you haven't heard of it, I was planning to visit a abandoned Disney resort called Discovery Island. I did my research, and it was originally known as Treasure Island in the early 70s. The mystery behind this island is very intriguing to me because it was suddenly shut down in '99. There was a lot of controversy behind the island, and it is commonly accepted that this was the reason behind the island's abandonment. I don't necessarily accept that as easily as others might, don't get me wrong, I do believe it, but solely because of the fact that there isn't enough information on the subject to prove it. This theory doesn't settle quite right with me. There isn't any public transportation to the island, so I had to call up a buddy to drop me off at the island. It has been about a day since my arrival to Florida, and I've got all my gear ready. I brought a notebook for quick notes, a laptop for typing down documents, a vintage map of the island, which I discovered on the internet, a GPS, and a geocache. If I was going to an abandoned Disney park, I was going to hide a geocache there. I was going to bring a camera, but I had spent all my money on the plane tickets and the hotel reservation. I hopped onto his boat, and we were off. The warm Florida air swerved past my temple and into the roots of my hair, relaxing me. This all went away as soon as the island entered into my line of sight. I can't explain it. It was a strange mixture of happiness, excitement, and dread. I couldn't explain to you why I felt dread, but I did. I also noticed that the air got thicker as we reached the island. I told myself it must have been the humidity, but in hindsight, that wouldn't really make much sense. The change was too quick. It wasn't gradual enough to be natural. Ignoring it, my buddy pressed on towards the island. Strange, he didn't seem to comment on the things I've noticed. We arrived at the island. Finally, after all of the research, I'll finally be able to expose to the world what really happened at this mysterious island. Well, if I find anything to expose, that is. After stepping off his boat, I felt a sense of satisfaction. All of my hard work had led up to this. I waved goodbye to my friend as he left me to my own devices. I looked around for any landmarks. After finding one, I figured out where I was on the map and headed off to where I thought the most plausible places to find information are. The first place I had in mind was the information booth. By the looks of the entrance, this was definitely a Disney park. It was very well crafted and detailed. Most of the display looked sun-damaged and a bit cracked. Some of it, you may say, looked sandblasted. Well, I guess the years of wear and tear from the unforgiving Florida weather took its toll. I continued until I reached what looked like the information booth. The sign was faded and the paint was chipping. It was hanging by a nail and it obscured my view inside. I slid it out of the way. Inside was a perfectly normal information booth, as expected. There was an eggshell white desk with assorted tickets on it. It even had some pamphlets mixed in. Taking the liberty of grabbing one of the pamphlets, I ran over to the nearest bench and laid it out. Also faded and water damage, I deciphered as much of the text as I could and typed it into a Word document. I noticed something funny though. I had an internet connection. This place was closed in the 90s. Why would there be a free Wi-Fi here? Even if I could explain why there was a Wi-Fi, why did I connect without my knowledge? I checked the router name and the IP. The router name was Radio Nick, and it didn't display an IP for some reason. But it seemed to work fine. My internet browser was functioning perfectly. I shrugged it off and decided to take this opportunity to do a little more research. Didn't really find anything I didn't already know. I continued to copy down the contents of the pamphlet. Finishing, I packed up my laptop and continued my journey. It was starting to get dark, which was strange. It was only 2, according to my laptop. I called up my buddy, and he came and picked me up. I asked him what time it usually got dark in Florida. He told me around this time of year, which was June by the way, the sun set roughly 8 to 8:30. Perplexed, I opened up my laptop to see the time was, in fact, 8:30. It literally said 2 o'clock 10 minutes ago. Don't freak yourself out, I told myself. It was probably that sketchy router that you connected to that messed up your time. Probably was set to the wrong time zone or something. We arrived to shore, and I took my rental car back to the hotel. After typing this up, it's really put into perspective how weird it really was. I'll pick up on my exploration tomorrow. I have about 4 more days on my reservation, and I'm planning on making the best of them.